Hey guys, it's Tyler from TCG Rewind. Today we're training in the dojo because I'm going to be talking to you about Karakuri.
Time warp, go!
All right, so we're going to be looking at Karakuri. This is a really cool combo deck that becomes available in the September 2011 format. A lot of the cards came out in like either Storm of Ragnarok. A lot of cards came out in either Storm of Ragnarok or Starstrike Blast. So, you know, where it really only was available for 2011, but it actually saw a ton of success. I think this deck was actually pretty underrated for the format, and it was mostly because, which you're going to see in a second, a lot of the Karakuri monsters are commons, and this deck was like almost a bit budget. But, you know, knowing how Yu-Gi-Oh players like to have like foil cards, including myself, I think a lot of people opted to not play this deck regardless of how good it actually was. But the few people that did oftentimes would see success with it. It topped a lot of YCSs from 2011 on, even going up, I think, as far as like 2013. This deck still saw some form of success. So yeah, it's really, really cool. But yeah, we'll just get right into it here. So starting out, we got 3 copies of Quick. This is probably the best Karakuri monster. It swings over a monster. If it destroys a monster, it gets to bring back a Karakuri from your grave. So this is a really nice like recursion tool to like kind of get back in the game if you fall behind. Basically, like the whole goal of this deck is to combo off, and then if you succeed at comboing off and you don't win, like they dark hole you or something, this can bring you back into the game. So this is a really nice card. You definitely want to max out your copies of this. Probably the best Karakuri monster. Then we have the Searcher. So we're running 3 Merchant. This card just gets you any Karakuri card in your deck. It technically can search things like Cash or the one that like lets you draw to when you like switch battle positions. We're not opting to run those in this build, but it is worth mentioning that you can do that. This card is really nice in combination with the next card here, which is Kamoichi. So Kamoichi plus Merchant gets you a turn 1 Nat Beast, which is always really nice. You know, it's a nice setup that you can have. And yeah, I don't know. This card, Kamoichi, if you don't know, it allows you to get the additional normal summon of a Karakuri. So this is typically your main combo starter in the deck. Pretty much all your combos revolve around this card. And the really nice thing about it is the fact that it says that it needs to special summon, or that it like gets an additional normal summon instead of a special summon. Because while under max C, that means that you're actually not committing to giving your opponent a ton of draws to like use this card, right? So like basically if you normal this and then are going for the additional normal summon, if they max C, you can still synchro and it's just a 1-for-1. It's not that big of a deal unless you go for a Karakuri synchro and they like draw more. But yeah, pretty good card, well-rounded, definitely another card you max out on. All right, so now we're gonna move on to the one-ofs. We got 4 one-ofs. First one is Hypa. You know, this guy's a thick boy. Thick ass boy! This guy, he's also the only like foil Karakuri, which is why you have to run him. Not because he's actually functionally good, but his actual function in the deck is he's a generic normal summon that outs Thunder King. He has 2100 attack. So he kind of has like a goblin attack force effect where after he attacks, he switches battle position. So you're just using him to run over something big. And then when combined with our other one of Nisamu, I'm sorry, these names are wild, but with Nisamu, its effect is, this is like basically a recruiter, so kind of like a Mystic Tomato. If it dies, it gets you another Karakuri from your deck. So this and Hypa effectively, like this can get you anything, but having this as an option means like you could crash a Thunder King and get this and out the Thunder King, which is really nice. So it's really important, I think, to run. You don't run a ton of non-tuners in this deck, so like it's worth the spot, I think, just as that option to deal with Thunder King, because Thunder King, like given how many resources you have to commit to making a synchro in this deck, means that you really need main deck outs to Thunder King, and Hypa is a pretty solid option. And then we have our 2 like combo tuners. So you only need 1 Watchdog and 1 Strategist. This card goes into the combo, and I'll probably do like a little combo tutorial talking about the different things you can do with this deck. But yeah, basically this enables like a draw 2 combo, which is really nice. And this also like gets you there. So these are just used in the combo. They're kind of necessary evils, but they feel pretty bad to open. And then we're going to go into like the non-Karakuri monsters. So things that are like not part of the archetype, but are really good to run. So I run 1 copy of Gores. I think this is just good. We're opting to run hand traps in this build. So I always think you should run Gores in combination with hand traps, just so Max C is a bit more threatening. Then we run 2 Cyber Dragon in the main deck. Reason for this: 1, it's an immediate out to Thunder King. If you special this, your opponent is inclined to tribute the Thunder King and just negate as a 1-for-1, because you're just going to swing over if they don't. Also, it's a level 5 synchro, which sets up for your combo, or a level 5 monster, which sets up for your combo with like Kamoichi, which is level 3. This makes 8, which that like basically just starts the whole thing. And it's a special summon, so like, just as an example, it'd be something like special Cyber, normal Kamoichi, and then additional normal summon any like non-tuner or even tuner. It could be Watchdog, could be Soldier, and this is basically a draw 2 combo, which is really cool. So yeah, it's definitely worth running. The only risk to this card is obviously if you're playing against people who are main decking Chimera Tech. There's a world where a monster reborn on your Cyber Dragon Engrave can actually be the death of you, because they can just contact fuse with your board. You are making a lot of machines in this deck, which makes this kind of like a double-edged sword, but it's definitely worth running. Then we're running 2 copies of Thunder King. The way I see it in this deck, my goal is to combo off turn 1 if possible. I'm trying to play Karakuris from a more modern approach. And if I can't combo off, I'd like to at least just summon a Thunder King and wait for my opponent to out it. This deck also doesn't really rely on searching so much as like other decks, so Thunder King really doesn't hurt you that much. So yeah, it's a little, I don't know, it's a really good card, and it's definitely worth maining, just because of the fact that, again, if you're not comboing off, this is a really nice position to just have good board, like have a good position on the board in early stages of the game. Then we run 1 copy of Gen X Neutron. This card, basically, in the end phase of the turn it's summoned, it lets you search a machine tuner. So this can search like 50% of your deck, right? And it's an 1800 beater. It's really not bad stat-wise. So it's really nice. If it sticks and you can get a full turnaround and then summon the tuner that you had, then it's like starts your combo. So definitely worth running as a one-of, but I don't really think you need to see any more than 1 of this card. Then we move on to the hand trap. So we have 2 Max C, 2 Valor. This is the standard hand trap package in 2011. Typically, if you're going to opt for hand traps, this is a pretty good ratio. Gives you a nice like diverse option for what you're playing against. And then, you know, you can always side out the ones that are not being effective for you. But yeah, I definitely, again, I'm taking this deck with the similar approach to how I approach X-Sabers. I don't run a lot of traps. And that's because I think I want to try to play to what this deck wants to do more so than I want to prevent my opponent from playing the game, because if my stuff resolves, I'm probably winning, and I'm probably winning quickly. So we don't run traps, which means we run hand traps. So moving on to the spells, we got the Trinity, Heavy Storm, Monster Reborn, Dark Hole. Don't really need explanations. Obviously, they're insane. Mind Control and Pot of Avarice. This card's like essential for putting things back if, again, you get wiped or something in some way when trying to combo off. But yeah, I mean, you run enough tuners to warrant this card. Both these cards, yeah, don't really need much explanation. I opted to run a single copy of Book of Moon. This is because it's really nice for quick, like letting quick swing over stuff. It's also an immediate out to Thunder King. It's probably one of the best outs to Thunder King, because you set their Thunder King and then you can special Cyber Dragon, which starts your combo. So this can like deal with the Thunder King and also enable you to combo off, which I think is really good. And then we're also stealing another card from my X-Saber build, and that's 2 My Body as a Shield. Again, with Karakuris, you're making very powerful, like big monster boards, but you're not really setting up a whole lot of protection for your boards. So cards like Torrential and Dark Hole are actually really, really threatening to you, which means this is a really nice way to deal with that. So yeah, I don't know. I really like this card, especially after testing it in X Sabers. And I think it has equal merit here in Karakuri, even maybe more so, because we are like really spooked by Torrential in this deck. And then we're running 2 Lance. This card is super good in the deck, not only because this enables your combo pieces to resolve, so you can play through back row, but also it's a way for Quick to swing over things that are big and then get stuff back to start a combo. So this is super versatile and one of the better cards in the deck, I'd say. But yeah, I mean, yeah, there's not really much else to say. I definitely like was tempted to max out on this card, and there's a world where maybe you do. But 2 is a decent ratio once you kind of see what else I got going on. And then we have 2 copies of D Synchro. This is like a weird card that didn't really see play in retro like Karakuri's in like 2011, but it saw more play in like 2012. The risk to this card is Maxi for sure. If your opponent's like reading that you have this, they might wait until you desynchro, which means like you're getting pretty blown out by Maxi at that point. But the general assumption I would have is if you start comboing and you don't see Maxi, then this is going to take you to the next level. This is going to enable like crazy plays that you can do. Like this basically lets you end a draw 2 combo with a Nat Beast or something like that. All kinds of stuff comes from Desynchro. It basically just gives you another monster. And then another really nice detail about this card that I don't think a lot of people know is its effect says target 1 Synchro monster on the field, return that target to the extra deck. And then if all monsters that were used for the Synchro summon of that monster are in your graveyard, you can special summon all of them. What that means is you can hit your opponent's Synchro monsters with this. You bounce them and they don't get the materials back. So this is also just generic spot removal for your opponent's Synchros. Like if your opponent makes a Librarian or something and you don't want to try to combo through that, Desynchro is a nice way to deal with that. So yeah, that's an important detail to know. I don't think a lot of people know that about this card. All right, we're on to the next card. Again, this saw no historical play really in 2011. But I think this is one of the best cards in Karakuri, especially in 2011 Karakuri, and that is running triple instant fusion. This card is so important for starting your combos. You need it to get Cybersaurus, which gives you a level 5. So turn 1, this enables you to do your combo turn 1, where Cyber Dragon would need you to do it going second. So I think this is really important. People might be afraid of using this because of Max C, but one of the things I have for like logic of like why you would run this is like, let's say you instant fusion and your opponent chains Max C, right? They're gonna replace the card off of the summon of Cybersaurus, right? So Max C replaces itself. And then if you just normal summon your tuner, like Nanishi, you can just synchro for Stardust. And your opponent is gonna draw 2 cards off that Max C, but the way I see it is this is kind of like a similar scenario to like, you know, like Dragoonides or something where you're minusing to like make a Stardust. Like, you still have decent board control with that, and you're not giving your opponent too much. So, yeah, it makes the best out of a bad situation, but in reality, like, it still can set you up with a nice board without, like, making your opponent draw a ton of cards, so you don't really have to max C challenge, which is really good. All right, and then the last card I want to talk about, I run 2 copies of Royal Decree. Since it's not as easy to make Nat Beast in this deck, I didn't think it was worth running 3. Also, you don't really want to see this card going second. This is a really good going first card. And you also don't want to see multiples. So I felt like 2 for this deck is actually a good ratio. A lot of people know when it comes to combo decks, like again, like X Sabers, I do think Decree is a really powerful card. Because the way I see it is if I turn 1, summon a monster, and then set a Decree, and then during my opponent's end phase, I Decree and I get my combo off, I'm probably going to be able to win that game. So yeah, I think this card is absolutely worth running. The ratio is just a little bit different in this deck because, again, we're not making Nat Beast, which is like a pseudo win con like soft block. Like, you can make it, which makes this good, but it doesn't come up a whole lot, which makes it like, you know, less good. But yeah, that's it for the main deck. 40 cards. Got to keep it as tight as possible because you want to see your combos. You want to combo off as consistently as possible. So we'll move on to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we'll start with the Karakuri Synchros. This is the ratio most people care about. I will say that Karakuri's probably has the tightest extra deck space out of any deck in the format. So my ratios are going to look a little sus, but I swear this is probably the best way to do it. So we have 2 Beret and 2 Beredo, you know. The reason for this is, honestly, like, this is all you need to get your combo going, and you really don't need to see any more of ratios for this to, like, potentially OTK your opponent. So, yeah, this is probably perfect ratio. I also feel like no matter what, after you combo off, you're going to need to, you're going to need to Avarice to, like, combo again. So it's fine to run, like, smaller ratios of this. You just got to be kind of wary of bottomless, but not too big of a deal. Then we run 1 Utopia. This is strictly for, I want to mind control my opponent's Tengu and slap a level 4 over it, just so they don't get the special summon. It comes up, maybe you have quick into quick or something like that. So you want to run a single rank 4. Honestly, I wish I could run a rank 3, but I just don't have the space. I run 1 Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. Since we're main decking Cyber Dragon, that means we have an out to cards like Catastor by special summoning Cyber Dragon, which honestly is an issue. If your opponent, like, makes Catastor, like, most of your monsters are Earth, so it's kind of hard to out for this deck, which means this is, like, a way to deal with that. And again, main decking Cyber Dragon, it kind of makes sense. Then I run 1 copy of Cybersaurus. This is my only target for Instant Fusion. And the reason for this is Instant Fusion is strictly there to get your combo going. Once your combo has gone off, you don't really care about using Instant Fusion anymore. It's not that big of a deal. And then if you're going to use Instant Fusion a second time in the game, it's probably because you used Avarice, so you probably put this back. So it is, again, the space is so tight, but I think this is, like, worth running as a one-of just because it saves you a lot of space to do that. Now we're going on to, like, regular synchro monsters. So we have 1 copy of Trish, 1 copy of Scrap Dragon, 1 copy of Stardust. Nice thing about Trish is you can make it by, like, Quick can attack into a Kamoichi. Kamoichi will go back to field, and then you can additional normal summon Merchant off that Kamoichi, search, and then make Trish, which is a really cool and, like, strong way to make it. And then Scrap and Stardust are just, you know, generic synchros that every deck kind of runs. Next we run 1 Black Rose. And then this is a card that I just couldn't convince myself to cut. It's Landoise. The reason why you want to run Landoise, its effect is you can send a spell card to the graveyard to negate the from hand to grave to negate the activation of an effect monster's effect and destroy it. So this deals with Gores. So in a deck that doesn't set up a lot of negates and is trying to OTK, Landoise is a really nice option to close out a game when you're afraid of Gores or, like, Fader or something like that. Then we have 1 copy of Bryanak. This is our only level 6 synchro. A lot of people want to run Barkion, but I figured since we're maxed out on, like, or not really maxed out, but we have a lot of copies of things like Decree and Lance, and even things like My Body. I didn't think it was necessary to run the Barkion. We just have answers for traps in the deck. So yeah, that I didn't really think it was worth running, especially again because space is so tight. Then lastly, we run 1 copy of Catastor, obviously the best generic level 5 synchro, and it's also a machine in this deck, so it can be another combo starter. It's a level 5 machine, so you can synchro into something else later, which can, you know, start a combo, which is kind of unique and fun. And then lastly, we have Nat Beast. Obviously, turning off your opponent's spells is really, really good. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really need to say much more, but that is it. It is 15 cards. We're absolutely maxed out, and I don't think that space could get any tighter. Again, there's things I really wish I could run, but I just don't think you can. So now we'll move on to the side deck. So this side deck was honestly kind of weird to build, and there's probably a world where there's a more optimal version for this, but this is what I kind of came up with. I'm running the 3rd Cyber Dragon. I feel like going second, this card is nuts in this deck because, again, it's a combo starter, and also it's just generically good going second. So this is definitely worth running. And then we're also running the 3rd Thunder King. This is for if we're going against, like, the TG matchup or, like, going first against plants or something like that. I think it's worth adding in. So, like, you could, like, in game 3, you could, like, cut a Cyber Dragon out of your main deck and then maybe put a Thunder King in, since you don't need to see Cyber Dragon going first. We run the 3rd Max C, just in case we're running against, like, a super special summon heavy deck. And then the other 2 hand traps we got are 2 DD Crow. This is for the Dark World matchup. It's generic against a lot of decks. It's, like, pretty good if you feel like you need to control your opponent's graveyard. So then we have spells. I decided to side in the third copy of Lance. This is for going second if I feel like I'm going to be playing into a lot of back row. I think it's worse, or if I know that my opponent's probably siding in that third Thunder King or something, this helps me out that. And I think it's just generically better than something like Smashing Ground. We run 2 Leeching the Light. This is just to improve the Agents matchup. You're already making really big boards, so Leeching can just push you over the edge to get game. Really nice. And then since for going second, I didn't want to be mating Decree in the deck because of how quickly this deck wants to combo off. So I decided to side it the 3 MST. This is also for decks that have like face-up spells, like field spells or something that you need to deal with, for like example Gravekeepers with Necro Valley, or even like things like Dark World with their field spell. This gives you an option to deal with those cards while also giving you a better going second option instead of having Decree in your main deck. So I would like side out 2 Decree for 2 MST, maybe the third if I really need it for the matchup. And then we got 2 Debunk. Again, this is for Dark World. And also is a good way to, if you're going first in like game 3, you can side this in as a way to deal with hand traps if you think your opponent is going pretty hand trap heavy against you. Outing a Max C can definitely like let you push through, which is really nice. And then the last 2 cards I have are 2 Solemn Warning. The reason why we're running 2 Solemn Warning is because of the fact that I think if we're going first again in game 3, or even potentially game 2, if we feel like your opponent is summoning monsters that are a problem, I think it's worth like cutting out the Decrees. You can put MSTs in, and then you can run Warning as like a card that'll kind of surprise your opponent once they see Decree game 1. So yeah, that's it for the side deck. We'll start kind of moving on to some of the combos just so you can see how this all looks. All right, so first things first, we'll just do the basic combo. This starts with a normal summon of Kamoichi, and then you use her effect for the additional normal summon. This can either be a level 4 non-tuner or a level 4 tuner. Doesn't really matter. We'll just do the non-tuner for now. And then you activate the instant fusion. So what happens is we can special summon Cybersaurus, which gives you a level 8 synchro. You synchro for 8 here, and we special summon out our first Burrito. Burrito's effect triggers. This lets you special summon a Watchdog from deck. You then synchro for 8 again and make your second copy of Burrito. So standalone without any extenders, the card you get here is you just get yourself a Merchant or Strategist, and then Strategist effect will change itself to attack. These 2 cards trigger, letting you draw 2 cards, which is really nice. So basically, it's a draw 2 combo, also sets you up for a big board. Other thing to note is Strategist's effect is when it's attacked, it switches to defense, like or its battle position is changed. So even on your opponent's turn, if they are like best play is just to swing over the Strategist, this will change position, allowing you to draw 2 more cards, which is kind of crazy. So either way, it's kind of one of those things where your opponent is damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they leave it alone and they just have to set back row, then regardless on your next turn, you're going to switch the battle position of this card, and you're going to draw 2 cards again, which is pretty crazy. So that's like the first combo. That's the first generic combo. This also works with Cyber Dragon as your starter card. You special the Cyber Dragon instead of instant fusion into Cybersaurus, but that would be going second. And this is like the way to do this going first. Next up, we're going to talk about basically the same combo, except instead we also have desynchro. All right, so I just wanted to show what that looks like, what that can make for you. So starts out the same way. Kamoichi, additional normal summon any other Karakuri, instant fusion, get yourself the Cybersaurus, synchro for 8, special summon the Shogun. And then Shogun's effect triggers. We can special summon out the Watchdog. Watchdog lets you synchro here. And we now can get ourselves the second Burrito. Burrito's effect lets us get the Strategist. So here we can get Strategist, use Strategist effect to switch positions, and then you get the draw 2, right? So we'll get the draw 2. And then after that, we want to desynchro. So we'll desynchro this one, we'll put it back, and we'll special summon this. So now we have a couple options here, and they're both pretty good, right? The first option is we synchro for 8, and we make ourselves the same Steel Shogun, and then we use the effect and you special summon a Merchant. So Merchant comes out, and then you can synchro for 5 and make yourself a Nat Beast. That's option 1. So that's if you don't really have any protection for your board. This is a really solid option so that you don't get Dark Hold going when your opponent goes into their turn, right? That's like the most control-based way to go about it. But then there's the second option, which is basically a draw 3 combo. So instead of getting the Merchant, you can, if we go back here to after we desynchro. Okay, so we have Strategist. We just used desynchro. This is back in extra deck. And we're at this point here again, right? So what you can do instead is you can synchro for 7. You can make the Beret. And then Beret's effect will let you special summon the other level 4 non-tuner you need. So we can do quick. You synchro for 8. You get the Shogun back. Shogun's effect triggers, which lets you special summon any Karakuri at this point. We'll just say Merchant or something. Doesn't really matter. I mean, quick is probably the most generic one that you'd want, just because quick lets you swing over and like get more plays later. But you can put the quick out in defense, and then you can use your Beret's effect to switch this back and draw the 3rd card. So yeah, so, and that's because the Burrito like got reset. So since it went back, it's once per turn, it's no longer there. So that means like I would opt for this if you have a lot of protection. All right, so I doubt this scenario is going to come up too often, but technically it can. So I'm going to talk about it. This is the scenario where you see combo plus double desynchro, which is really insane. This can basically get you a draw 4 and a Nat Beast. So yeah, I figured it's worth putting out here. So combo starts Kamoichi, additional normal ninja. Again, this can be any Karakuri really that's like level 4, whether it be tuner or non-tuner. Instant fusion, we'll get ourselves the Cybersaurus, synchro for 8, and get a Burrito. Burrito's effect, we special summon the Watchdog. Synchro 8 again, get ourselves the other copy of Burrito. Burrito's effect, get Strategist. Strategist effect switches itself to attack, and we can draw 2 cards. Okay, so we're now up 2 cards, and then we activate the first desynchro. So we desynchro, we put this Burrito back, and we special summon back the quick and the Saizen. You synchro for 7 here, and we make the Beret. Beret's effect triggers, and we special summon any level 4 non-tuner, so we'll just grab Hypa. Synchro for 8. Make Burrito again. Burrito's effect triggers, we special summon Kamoichi, and then we use our second copy of desynchro. So we put this card back, and then we special summon the Kamoichi Cybersaurus. You synchro 8 again, and make Burrito one more time, and then you can special summon Merchant. You can then use your Beret's effect on one of these guys, switch them to attack or whatever, change their battle position, and then since these guys are refreshed, you will get to draw 2 more cards. And then lastly, we can synchro for 5 and make ourselves a Nat Beast. So again, it's a bit of an outrageous circumstance, but it is extremely powerful, as you can tell. It almost warrants running the 3rd desynchro just because the ceiling is really high, but you know, it's situational, but really good, so figured worth mentioning. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video on Karakuris. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this build. This isn't really a traditional, like, historical build. This is kind of my take on the deck and how I would approach it. Let me know what you think, if you want to give it a shot, if you give it a shot, how you feel about the build, because I do like that feedback. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button. We need some. We're trying to grow. I want to hit 100 subscribers. We're at 50 something now, and I think seeing a little growth. Let's try to get that number up there. Let's get to 100. So, but yeah, thank you so much for watching, and make sure you have a great time doing today.